So Mariana, how are you today? Where are you right now?
I'm doing great, Ami. I am in my house in Miami, and it's one of those hectic Mondays where I'm juggling a lot of projects for journalism, also for speaking, and all of that has to do with the book that I wrote also a couple of years ago.
Well, so I'll ask you about the book in a second, but just let's introduce you for a second to the young authors. So you are a journalist, you are a news anchor, you are investigating, reporting, and an author. So what are you first?
I'm a journalist through and through because I grew up in Venezuela in South America. And when I was growing up, I always knew that I loved to communicate and to write, but the government in my home country started shutting down media outlets and independent press. And I was in school with all my friends, and it just ignited this passion in me to go out into the streets and to say, we want to get our voices heard. I want to tell the stories of people that are not being heard. And I knew at that moment that I was going to be a journalist. So through and through, I'm a journalist, and that also allows me to do other things that are connected with storytelling.
So why did you decide to write a book?
So let's see. I was doing journalism. I was working at a network at the time at NBC, and things happened in my personal life. You know, I lost my dad very suddenly, and he was in Venezuela. I was in the United States. It got me thinking about legacy and really leaving something for newer generations. When you write a book, different from a news package or a story on television, you know, a story on television, it goes on the air and then it's done. And you have to think of a next story. When you write a book, and I have here the book that I wrote, this is registered in the Library of Congress. This is something that will be available for the next and the next and the next generation. I did the audiobook. That's also going to be available. So I realized there's a way of getting my message across that's more than a news package, which sometimes is only a couple of minutes long. The other thing that had happened to me besides my dad passing away was also that there was a big, or is still going on, a big immigration debate here in the United States, which is the country that I moved to from Venezuela. And the stories of immigrants like me were just being generalized, and the nuances are our contributions, our struggles, the beautiful places that we came from to now, you know, live and work and add value to this country, that was not being covered at all. So my book is my immigrant story as well. And with it, a call to action to just be authentic and be yourself, which I found just from, you know, things that I posted online, from a TEDx talk that I gave, that was really a message that people were craving.
So the most basic question, how do you start? You say, okay, I'm going to write a book, but what's next?
A great question, because I never thought that I was going to write a book. I never figured out like how to start, or the most important thing I would say is also that I had a story worth writing about. And that's the first thing I'll say to the young people that are listening to me right now. That's the imposter syndrome that we have in our heads. Like, is my story really that special? You have a story worth telling. All of us do. And there's an audience that is waiting for you to authentically talk about your experience, those stories that you have in your mind, in your heart that you want to get across. So that's the first thing that I needed to get over. Like, are people actually going to want to read what I have to say? Or there's also people go, well, you're so young. Like, you know, who do you think you are writing a book at this age? And you believe that. So those are the first things you need to toss out the window. And then in order to start writing a book, a mentor of mine, she saw that I was stuck, and I was like, I don't know where to start. And she said, make a list of everything that has happened to you, the good things and the bad things, those moments that you know defined your life or made you take a different path, because that's the start of a book. you're not going to start a book saying, especially an autobiography or a nonfiction book, you're not going to start saying, on April 2nd, 1984, I was born. That's a boring start to a book. It's identifying, okay, what are those moments? And then seeing like, wait a minute, this moment, this would be an interesting start to the book. And from there, start weaving in all of the other things and obviously thinking about, and we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but thinking about, okay, once you start with that anecdote, what is the message that you want to convey and to whom?
Okay, so you start writing, you have kind of the framework, let's call it this way, and do you have any idea how long it's gonna be, or do you write the stories as little stories, or you're trying to write like, are you writing a page a day, or you're writing 100 once a month?
So this is what I did, which I understand may not be everybody's experience, but I wrote. I looked at all these anecdotes of what had happened to me, and I picked the one that I knew was going to be most compelling to start the book. And that was something really different and really unique to my experience. So to give our young authors an example, or the example, one of the negative experiences that I had in my negative column was when I was held at gunpoint in my home country of Venezuela. And I almost thought I was going to die. And that was the moment I decided that I had to leave and that I was going to start a new life at a young age here in America. That moment when that man had his gun to my head and told me to count, and I thought that I was going to, that's the start of my book. So what I did was that I really fleshed out that opening chapter. I had to think about, what I was in the mountain, by the way, I was on a hike. So I had to think about, okay, why did I go on this hike by myself? What did the mountain, like, what did the air smell like? What did I remember the first time we're friends. And the first time you spoke to me, you said to me, did you pee on your pants in that moment? Like what, were you sweating? Like, what did you experience? So those are all the things that as a writer, you have to really invoke because you have to take the reader there. So I fleshed out that first chapter really well. And then I thought about, okay, what's going to be my message? The immigration message, the being yourself message. And I actually put a book proposal together. A book proposal kind of like, it's almost like it's almost like those presentations that you do in school, like this is my topic, this is who I am, this is my community on social media or on YouTube that I have. This is why I think this book is important. I put all that together with my first chapter, and I had a television agent because of my news experience. So I sent it to the agents. And what young people can do also online, you can Google, who are agents for young adult or for young authors. And, I sort of sent it out, and I got a response back saying, we really like this idea. That's how it all began. So to answer your questions, I hadn't officially thought of like how long it would be or how many chapters I would write or that I would write a page a day. I just wrote the heck out of the first chapter, the proposal, and send it out. And then once I got interest from a publisher, then I had a conversation with that publisher about, okay, how long would you want it, for when? And that sort of defined the rest of the writing process for me.
Okay, so you did something that we advise every young author, which is like to make sure that the beginning of the book is fascinating, shining, and you're just emphasizing it, that it has to be like perfection, etc. But now you are very special in the context that from the other authors we spoke with, that you from the beginning knew that the book is part of something bigger, which is like social media and lectures and TED Talks, etc. And we do have young authors that are trying to start, let's call it a movement or a big story. So I actually want to take you now, the book is out, right? How do you start marketing it? And I'll say it because like for our young authors, the writing process is half of the process, and then they become young entrepreneurs. and they try to promote their books and sell their books in many different ways. And so I think you really have a unique experience, and I just love to know. I don't even know if you had a plan and how do you do it, and or any advice you can give young authors about, like, once the book is there, what to do.
So every author I have spoken to, especially the young ones, marketing the book is even harder than writing the book. And it's all up to you. You said the magic word, which is entrepreneur. You have to become an author entrepreneur and pull in every contact that you have, every creative idea, every sort of innovative experience that you can bring to marketing a book. So what did I do? I first of all, I thought that the publisher was going to do the marketing, and they're like, oh no, we only have like, we're gonna send out like an email, and we have this. And also, no offense, but the people, at least in my publishing house, they were great, but they were so much older. They didn't really like the power of like social media and the kind of movement that we can create as young people. They weren't as in tune with that, right? So I was like, this is all up to me. What did I do? I myself, with my sister who helped me out, we called bookstores. There was no book tour. There was nothing to like, we called bookstores and we said, hey, I said, I want to be in New York. So I called the Barnes and Nobles on Fifth Avenue, and I said, what can I do to present my book there? And then I called the Books and Books here in Miami, and then in Los Angeles. And the bookstores actually were like, okay, we're going to buy 20 of your books. If you don't sell them, I didn't know this worked this way. They said, if you don't sell them, you have to buy them. So I had a commitment, like almost like a signed contract with these bookstores, being like, okay, they're buying 20 of my books. If I don't move my butt and sell this book, I'm gonna have to put in my own money to keep my end of the deal. So what did I do in order to really move the book? In every stop where I was going to present the book, I made sure that we made a list of, okay, who are the influencers that really speak to that community? And it's, if you're in a different city, in a different age group, those can be different people. Who has like that voice and is calling them, reaching out to them on social media and saying, hey, I'm this person. I think your message is aligned with my message. I would love to have you in this book tour stop. And of course, like if you put I made these little flyers on Canva graphics and stuff, and saying like, Ami Dror book tour stop in Tel Aviv featuring, influencer so-and-so, or and some people said no. Some people wanted to charge me to be featured. And, I sort of picked out the best people that said yes. A lot of people are going to say no, and then one person's going to say yes, and then that's going to be great. I had another person be shooting on a phone videos and photos as I went along, and then editing those and then putting those on my social media. So that generated more of a movement. I came up with a hashtag. So the book is called Perfectly You. The Perfectly You book tour, hashtag Perfectly You. I told people, start telling me what makes you perfectly you. So then they started sending their videos and I would repost them. I started calling news outlets saying, I'm a Latina, I'm an immigrant, this topic is in the news. I can talk about these things and also feature the book. A lot of people said no. A couple of people said yes. What other stunts did we pull? So in the New York, and I say stunts because it really is.
Those are stunts.
Very innovative. In the New York City stop, I was like, it's Fifth Avenue, it's New York City. I don't want to, what if I walk into the bookstore and there's no one, And I had a friend go in first, and she was like, there's like nobody here. So she started telling people in the store, do you know Mariana? She's coming in 5 minutes. Why don't you join us over here? Like literally pulling people, who were just at the store. They didn't know who I was, but they're like, oh, this book looks nice. Okay, let me sit and listen to what she has to say. And then I saw this group of musicians in New York in the street, and they were like, they had drums and everything. And I was like, can you walk me to, I gave them like $20 or something. And I said, can you walk me into the store? So then they were like playing their instruments and drums, and I'm walking into the store and I'm saying, well, at least I'm not walking in alone. I'm walking in with these musicians, who at least, and obviously I'm Latina, I'm from South America. It also had a lot to do with like my personality and the energy that I bring, right? It was something that I felt comfortable dancing into the store. And, it was those kinds of things where I really pulled out all the stops. It was exhausting, but now, I mean, I published this in 2019. Now it's 2023. I still get people telling me about moments where they met me during these experiences. It generated a lot of conversations that I now talk about in conferences because it was this FaceTime with people. And finally, those videos, that were shot on a phone, those influencers, I still use that material every time that I'm going to give a presentation, every time that I'm looking for another opportunity. The book is one of the best and strongest foundations, and all that effort that I put in is the gift that keeps on giving.
So it's interesting what you said about the bookstores, because we do have young authors that do that. Like they actually contact the bookstore, not professionally like you. And this is really being an entrepreneur. Like, as a tech entrepreneur, you develop your product, and then it's really nice that you have a product that nobody knows about it. But then you really need to go and and you get out of your comfort zone, right? For you to pick up the phone and call somebody that you don't know and say, hey, would you come and would you be part of what I'm doing? That's a hard one. But I also hear from you something very important, which you say it goes beyond the book. So the book was, so tell us what happened beyond the book.
Beyond the book, there was, when it came out, there wasn't like a media reaction to it. But then months later, somebody picked up on one anecdote that I talked about, and it was all over the news. So I would say to young authors also, if nothing happens when you publish the book and you market it, don't get frustrated, because that's the great thing. A book is always there. It may be years before somebody says, oh my God, I read this book, and then all of a sudden it starts selling. So one of the things that I didn't expect was for there to be like kind of like a media, The Guardian covered this. Oh, somebody knocked on my door. The Guardian covered it. My dog is here. Come here. You want to say hi to Ami? Hold on. Ven acá. She doesn't want to come talk to you. It's okay. Mira, her name is Blue. Anyway, so media around something months later that I never expected. The other thing that happened was, I got offers to write other books. I haven't done so yet, but not offers, but I got interest from publishers. So if young people want to have a career as an author, it will open doors for other possible books. The other thing that happened was that now that I've become a professional speaker, companies from all over the world book me to speak. A book is an amazing added value that you can give a client. So a client like Microsoft hires me to speak, which has happened. And then they say, we're going to buy 50 of your books to come give the lecture, and then everybody can have a book and you can sign them. So for your entire career, honestly, if you want to be a tech entrepreneur, if you want to be a speaker, like that's always, to have a book is always added value that people can say, wow, Ami I'm buying Ami, I'm paying Ami, but Ami comes with this amazing tool and a message that goes way deeper that I can also leverage.
So we are talking about the process in which you sit down, you write the book, you become entrepreneur, you market it, you get a side effect on your personal level, being invited to, to events and to give lectures and TV shows and all that, right? On the other hand, you also started some of a movement, like you had a reason behind books. So, and how did this thing go?
So the movement that I started was a movement for authenticity. And in the book, when I was, being a young person, in the media and writing a book, my community used to tell me, go like Mari, go like Mariana. So I started telling other young people, go like Ami, go like, whatever your name is. It literally is the last line of the book. It says, go like you, fill in the blank, put in your name. So my company now, my media company is called Go Like. My main speech topic for conferences that I get hired to do is Perfectly You, which is the title of the book, The Power of Authenticity. So I now have this flag, which is the topic of the book, authenticity. And I now have this company that is all based on what I wrote in this book.
So this is really fascinating. It's almost like the book changed your life to a certain way, or the book,
Absolutely.
the book movement. So, we have about 1 or 2 minutes left, and like I just want to give you the floor. And you just met somebody. This girl or this boy are like 11 years old. They never published a book. What advices would you give them?
The world is waiting for your story. There are so many boys and girls your age, maybe younger, maybe older, parents that want to learn from you and want to take something and learn about themselves, discover something about themselves based on your story. So take a deep breath, think about your life and what message you really want to convey. What message are you really passionate about? Sit down. There's a phrase, a room with a view. Sit down in a place that gives you peace, and just maybe it can be a place in the library, at school, in your house, in your grandma's house, in the yard, and just put pen to paper and start writing, or grab your phone or your computer and start typing. See what comes out, and look at it the next day and the next day, and then start thinking about, okay, how do I want to structure this? And, go ahead and share it with someone who hopefully is an adult and can help you with a connection in the publishing world. I always tell young people, if you don't put your wishes into words, into the written word, and if you don't say to people, I want to write this book, can you help me? People are not going to come ask you, what is your dream? What do you want to do? What do you want to write about? Begin just knocking on doors, saying to the world, even if it's one person a day, I want to write this book. Do you want to read this anecdote that I wrote? This is my message. What do you think? And slowly but surely, you will get there.
It's interesting. One of the other authors we spoke with, Omri, he said the same thing, and I know it personally because, like, literally every day he will send me something and say, what do you think about this? That and this is a really good one. Actually, one tiny question, last one, because it's something that I also struggled with. You spend now lots of time writing something. You ask many people. How do you know it's good enough? How do you say, let's go?
I still don't think that it's good enough.
You're still not good.
I still don't think that it's good enough. And that's the thing about being a journalist also. I had a deadline, and at one point I had to turn it in. And the book is called Perfectly You. And one of the things that I talk about is this idea of perfection. And I know there's a lot of pressure for young people to be perfect. And perfection is not the absence of flaws. It's not turning something in that has no flaws. It's just doing your best. Do your best. And that's all that you can really hope for. And I hope for you that you write not only one book, but many books. So if the first one isn't great or, good enough, then you work for the second and the third one. And that's part of your journey that I want to be on now. Thanks to BriBooks, and thank you so much, Ami, for making me a part of these young authors' journey.
And thank you, Mariana. And I will have to say, for the kids that don't know, normally you will be the person that asks questions because you're the professional interviewer, not me. So I find it almost funny to ask you a question.
You're very good.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for your time. I'm sure our young authors would just love learning from you because you are inspiring beyond being an author. Like the energy level of like taking a story and making it like known all around the world and inspiring. It's actually, young authors, search Mariana, like, you know, social media. You'll be amazed.
One
Mariana,
last thing that just
yes.
occurred to me that I would love to have you guys take advantage of is, if you speak different languages, if you come from different communities, different realities, one of the things that I think made my book stand out was that I sprinkled, you know, the English one has like Spanish words in there, things that I would say to my mom, foods that I ate coming from my home country. So, and also that's the truth of the audiobook. And then I was asked to write the book in Spanish. So being from a multicultural, you know, multilingual background, if many of you are, because I know you live in parts of the world where that is, you know, an amazing opportunity that you have, make sure that you use that to write a book that is really unique and in your voice, because that's a competitive advantage that you have.
That's an amazing advice. Mariana, thank you so much. And keep amazing the world with everything you do.